Hi, and welcome to the Window Film Magazine podcast. I'm your host, Vinny Driscoll, and I'm excited to be joined today by the one and only Tommy Silva, founder of T&T Tinting Specialists, as well as a Window Film Hall of Fame inductee. Tommy, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Vinny? Aloha.
I'm doing good. You're in Honolulu, or you're in Oahu, Honolulu. I'm in the East
Yes.
Coast of Philadelphia area. There's a 6 hour time difference, which is why I wanted to get you on live. But the problem was I couldn't get you at my 11 o'clock Eastern time, which would have been, what was
Two in
that,
the mo
5
5
o'clock
in the
your
morning.
time?
Yeah.
Yep. Which I think, from what I've heard from you, you're up early. You're always working out, so you're usually up at that
We're
time.
up. Yeah.
But that's just
My
not
wife
the
and I are up. Terry gets up earlier than me. She's up at about 3:30 or 4, and then I get up at 5. And we're at the UFC gym here in Mililani Town, 5 days a week in the morning.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
thing,
I
get it
mean,
over with.
I'm, yeah, I've seen some of the pictures. You look like you work out a lot. So you're up crack of dawn. You're working out. But I think this was the best time I can get you. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time. But I had a lot of interest. People wanted me to get you on a live stream so we can talk about your career, what you've done, what you've accomplished. So you're in Hawaii right now. You're
hmm
you're born and raised in Hawaii. Tell me what's it like out there today? You got me jealous. I can see the beautiful weather. I can hear the birds. What's the weather like today?
it's partly cloudy, probably 80, 84, maybe 85 degrees. Um, Trade winds are cool, nice breeze. It's always pretty cool. You rarely need air conditioning, except for the
Yeah.
few humid days, but it's beautiful. It's
Uh,
always gorgeous here. It's someplace that when you live here, when you leave a vacation somewhere and you're in, say you're in Cabo or wherever, and you say, "Oh yeah, I got to go home tomorrow," and they're like, "Oh, where you live? Oh, I live in Hawaii," and immediately you get no pity. Like, "You going home to
yeah.
Hawaii? Screw you,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
you poor
Beautiful.
guy."
Yeah. It's beautiful out there. My wife and I, we were talking offline. We've been there a bunch of times. Is it whale season yet? You guys seeing
It's
the whales
almost,
yet?
yeah. It was this is October, yeah. So probably mid-October starts. Humpback whales start migrating down here. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. Maui, especially. I know you like Maui.
Yeah.
And yeah, right off the west coast there, Ka'anapali, Lahaina
Mm.
side,
Oh yeah.
all that side of the island is just beautiful. And they're so close to shore. You can be at Duke's or any
Yeah.
one of the bars out there, and you just
Yep.
see them breaching right in front of you. It's just amazing.
Yeah, right over by BlackRock and Kaanapali. We love going out
Yeah.
there, seeing the whales. It's beautiful. So Tommy, you were at WFCT last month. Did a keynote. I was supposed to interview you. I couldn't for health reasons. I couldn't make it. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about your history. I've been in the industry for about a year. I've heard nothing but great things about Tommy Silva. Tommy Silva this, Tommy Silva that. So I'm excited to have
All
you.
lies.
But so tell me, you have been in the industry. I know your story fairly well. You started tinting in 1977, I believe, as a 17-year-old. What? How did you get into tinting? What was the motivation to tint?
It was just a hobby. It was literally, I was into cars. In high school, public high school, Pro City High School I went to. I wasn't into history. I wasn't into math and a little bit in science, mostly marine science and ocean related stuff. And I really fell in love with auto shop and wood shop and metal shop and all that,
Mhm.
the stuff where you work with your hands on
Right.
items, on things. And with auto shop, I just started working on cars, and me and my brother and my dad, we'd work on our, project cars in our garage at home and stuff. And then as we fixed up our cars, I don't know how it came about, but I just figured out, yeah, I want to put some tint on these windows. And back in 1977, there wasn't any tint shops,
Right.
and there weren't many suppliers. I found one supplier named Amco Window Tinting, and he's a guy that he was a medical distributor at the time. So I
Hmm.
picked up film from him, and he was selling it mainly for residential use,
Right.
commercial residential use, and there were no dealers really. Just I don't know. It was just a really small thing. Picked up some film and started playing with it and experimenting, and did my my Datsun 510 that I had back in the
Oh
day,
yeah.
and and then
Yes,
I
I
did a
remember those.
friend of
Yep.
mine's Ford window van, a Econoline van, and
Yeah.
Volkswagen vans, and did friends' cars.
Yeah.
And family asked, "Oh, what you did to your car looks pretty cool. Can you do mine?" I do my cousins and
Yeah.
uncles and aunties' cars, and my teachers would see my car at school and go, "Oh, what'd you do your windows? I want to do that to my car too. Does it keep it cooler?" And so I started
Right.
doing
Right.
my teachers' cars, and then they would give me $50 or something. Hey, thanks a lot. Here you go. No, no, just pay for the material, and it
Right.
just started off as a hobby, and then I just felt the demand. A lot of people liked it and wanted it.
Right. So there wasn't much in the way of other shop. There weren't many shops doing this, correct?
Not in '77 here. There were nobody. There was one guy in the Hawaii Kai side of the island, on the east side of the island, named Aloha Glass Tinting, and his name was Steve, and he was doing it out of his garage, and just him. So I would drive down there after I heard about him, and just talk. I met him and talked to him, and I just watched him, and I was amazed on how he had it
Okay.
down to cutting and everything. There's no heat
Sure.
shrinking back in those days.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
we would splice the back windows and stuff like that. So I watched him, learn from him, and then kind of I was working a couple of jobs in high school, a dishwasher at a small restaurant, and then I was working at the Aloha Stadium, which is our 50,000 seat stadium that they're tearing down now, but that's how old I am. Me and Terry used to work there actually in the concession stands. And then at the same time, I was tinting, part time, just making a couple $100 here and there in my dad's
Yeah.
garage while I was in between my jobs. And I was also my dad wanted me to become a police officer for the Honolulu Police Department. And so I started looking at that as a career, and I, did my research. I took all the tests, passed all the tests, and the one that got me was the physical. I'm colorblind, so I failed the
Oh, okay.
physical test because I'm colorblind. Can't be chasing the blue Honda, and it's not a blue Honda or whatever.
Right. Right.
And shoot the
Right. Right.
shoot the guy in the red shirt.
Yeah.
Um, so I couldn't be a cop, but even before I found out I couldn't do it because of my deficiency in my eyes, I was just doing the math. I mean, the starting pay for a recruit back in 1978 after I retired was about $640 a month,
Oh,
and
wow.
people are shooting at you. And
Right.
I was making about two to $2,500 a month in my dad's garage, a couple days a week, just tinting
No
cars.
kidding.
So
Okay.
I'm telling my dad, like, look, I can make a career out of this. He's like, that's a
Yeah.
fad. He's like, that's a fad. It ain't gonna go anywhere. Just go be a cop. So when I found out I failed the physical, I'm like, well, fate. Okay, look, I
Yeah.
can't be a cop, so I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna follow this for a little while. And right at the same time, my sister found a want ad in the newspaper for an experienced auto glass tinter, and a guy from but he said he was from Canada. A guy from Canada came to Hawaii, bought some film, and back in the day there wasn't any Instagram, social media, TikTok. He put an
Right.
ad. He put an ad in what's known as the Yellow Pages. A lot of
Oh,
young
yeah.
listeners, young viewers out there won't know what that
Yeah.
is, but the Yellow Pages was the only place you would advertise as a business
Sure.
back in those times. So he put a Yellow Page ad in the phone book and forgot about it because you put that in July or
Right.
whatever, and the book comes out in January. So he pretty much forgot about it. He had a stack of film in his condo. And when that book got distributed the next year, his phone started ringing, and he's like, "She's he's making, talking to people." He was a salesman from.
Mm.
He could sell anything to anybody. So he's making appointments. He doesn't even have an employee that knows how to tint. He didn't know how to tint.
Right.
So he's making these appointments, and then he put the ad in the paper for a tinter. And my sister saw it. I went down. Long story short, I got the job. He looked at my car. At that time I had a '69 Mustang,
Mm.
and he looked at my windows. He goes, "Okay, you're hired." And he gave me a clipboard right there. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, this is your day today. You're hired. You're going to start today. This is a clipboard with 3 invoices with names and addresses and phone numbers. take my Mazda GLC, which is stuffed to the ceiling with window film boxes,
Huh.
and go to these people's homes and tint their car in their garages.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. And he gave me a bunch of tools. I didn't have tools, and he said, "Here, use these." And it was crap. And I ended up
Huh.
going home and getting all my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went to the three homes. I did the three jobs. I got checks. People paid me by check, and I went back to him and I turned him over the three checks. And he said, "Wow, you're done all three already?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, here's tomorrow's clipboard."
Wow. Wow.
So again, long story short, that went on for about 4 years. But what in the first year, we ended up with two mobile vans, and then we got one location. And about 2, 3 years later, we got a second location. And in 4 years span, I helped him build that company from just me doing mobile to having two mobile vans and two shops and about 20 employees.
Okay.
So
Wow. So you,
I'm about 21 years old at this point and running two shops with two mobile vans.
okay.
Just going crazy, busy as hell.
And were you making decent money?
I was making great money. I was making $3,000 a month in
Oh,
1979.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
That's it.
I was making more money than my parents already back at
Huh.
that time. And, so my dad was like, well, hopefully this lasts,
Yeah.
you don't have medical and this and that. Like, okay, so we
Right. Right.
worked on the company getting medical and all of that stuff. So it became a legitimate business. Right up until I had a huge surprise one morning. And I think you heard this twist in our story, but I came to work one day and I had my boss's name was John. I came to work and I had a new boss named Mike. So I was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm Mike. I'm their boss." I'm like, "Where's John?" He said, "Well, John left." I said, "What do you mean John left?" He said, "Yeah, John left. I bought the company from him last night, and it's my company, and now you work for me." And he told me
Huh.
all about you. So you do your job, and I'll be in the background like John was, and you just keep doing your job, running the two stores and the two mobile units and all of that. So I did until it started getting weirder. All of a sudden, come to work, and the phones aren't ringing. There's no dial tone.
Huh.
Flip the lights on. There's no power. You know,
Bills weren't getting
creditor
paid. Yeah.
credit creditors would just be
Oh.
hounding me, just coming by looking
Huh.
for bill, bringing invoice again. This is unpaid from 2 months ago, and this and that. So
Right.
he started just coming by the shops and taking cash out. So he'd go by both locations and just take the cash and deposit the checks, and he'd run away. And it was weird because I finally got in touch with our company accountant, who was the accountant for
Hmm.
John, and passed the company to Mike. So the same accountant was, around for about 4 years now. So I asked the accountant, I said, "Hey, what is going on here? Who's this guy, Mike? Where's John? What's going on?" And he looked around and he's like, "Man, I'm not supposed to tell you anything. I swore to these guys that I wouldn't say anything, but John's gone. His name wasn't John. His name was Terrence.
Huh.
Terrence wasn't from Canada. He was from New Jersey, and he was here in Hawaii in the witness protection program, hiding from the
Really?
mafia that he ratted on in New Jersey."
No kidding. That's a
Yeah.
story all itself. That's
So the
amazing.
so the Jersey mafia found him here, and he got word that they're coming for him. And
Wow.
overnight at the Waikiki Yacht Club, he sold this company, At Home Autoglass Tinting, to Mike.
Huh.
Gave him a briefcase of cash, and John left, and Mike became our boss.
Wow. So John slash Terrence just disappeared overnight.
Disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a story. All right.
yeah.
We can have another podcast about John slash Terrence, but let's talk about how you got the idea to start your own business. Now, obviously, this is probably the launching point. You've been working 4 years for John slash
At Home
Terrence, and
Autoglass
yeah, and
and
then
Mike.
you and Mike, and then now you're going to start your own business. Was this the launching point? You're like, you know what? Hey, I can do this myself. Let me start my own
That was
business.
I was pushed. I was literally pushed into it because, I told you power wasn't paid for, the phones weren't
Hmm.
paid for, everything was going off. Our film stopped coming in because he didn't pay
Hmm.
that. And then the last straw for me was my 20 guys just coming back to me and going, "Hey, our paychecks aren't clearing at the bank. They're
Wow.
saying there's
Okay.
no money. There's no money in the bank account for our
Right.
paychecks." So when that happened, I was like, okay, there's no way we're gonna continue this. So I grabbed everybody's checks, and as the days went by and the cash came in, I gave everybody cash out of the cash box.
Mhm.
And then when Mike came for his withdrawal, he goes, "Where's the cash?" I said, Here, I gave him all the bounce checks. And he's like, no, you can't do that. I said, yeah, I can. I can't have my guys working for we were working 7 days a week back in those days. I
Yeah,
can't have my guys working 7 days a week and not getting paid. I mean, they got rent, they got mortgages, they got kids, there's
right.
no way. So he got upset. I said, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. I am out of here. You're draining this company of its resources. I'm
Mm,
out. So called the accountant and I told him, I got to get out of here. And he's like, yeah, I was wondering when this is going to happen because you do
mm,
everything. You don't need these guys. Open your own
right.
company. I
Sure.
said, I'm 21 years old, 22 years old. I don't know how to open a company. So he said, I got you. I'll do the paperwork. He set up my corporation for T&T
Oh,
Tinting
wow. That's
Specialists
awesome. Yeah.
Incorporated. Did everything in the background. He said, sign here, sign here, sign here. I left. I looked for a shop. I got a little small shop. And I just walked out 2 days, 2 weeks later, and I was in my own business.
Yeah.
And I took a couple, two, three guys with me. The rest of them then
Yeah.
ended up either becoming competitors or doing their own thing or switching
Right.
industries and doing something else. But
So,
that's where it started.
so TNT, I'm assuming that it's you and your wife's names,
Tommy and Terry, yeah.
Tommy and Terry. So, um, how invested is Terry in the business? I know that obviously, and this is the story that I read, that you took your marriage, your wedding funds, and you invested into the business. Now,
Yeah.
um, are you two? Were you two at first both invested? Was she part of the business, or was she just somebody who helped you invest, and she didn't have any part of it?
She was our vice president on paper,
Okay.
but she had her own job, and I felt that it would be better for her not to quit that job because we had medical under her,
Okay.
and there was a paycheck coming in, and for the first year, I didn't even take a penny out of the company.
Okay.
I was trying to
Yeah.
build a business based
Sure.
on our $10,000 we started the company with our wedding money, and trying to figure out, okay, so is this going to go? I mean, can I afford to pay myself?
Mhm.
And then, after about a year, I started taking about $1,000 a month,
Okay.
which was way less money than I made in my dad's
Sure.
garage,
Right.
you
Right.
know, tinting for cash.
Yeah.
But it slowly built, and we got bigger and bigger and hired more people, and opened a second shop and a third
Hmm.
shop. But I'm kind of skipping ahead, but there was a part right in this first shop where January, well, in December of 1982, right on the headlines, it said that automotive window tinting will be
Right.
banned in Hawaii starting
Right.
January 1983.
Right.
So that's right after our first shop.
Hmm.
And we just set it up and we're doing good. And all of a sudden, we get this bad news like, oh my God, what's this? They're going to ban window tinting in Hawaii. How can they do that? It's sunny and, summer all year
Right.
round.
What was their reasoning for that? What was the reason to ban
We
tint?
found that out really quick because it didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't doing anything I thought was illegal because kind of did what we didn't have anything to really go by because there was no state law in Hawaii.
Right.
So we were doing like 35% on cars and dark in the back on SUVs and trucks and vans, which was like the majority of the laws I found when dealing with IWFA back then.
Mhm.
So what we did find out was Hawaii was the only state out of all of 50 states that didn't have an aftermarket window tinting law for cars.
Okay.
We had no
Okay.
law on the
Interesting.
books. So if there's no law on the books, then you fall back to the federal standard, which is the FMVSS 205 federal standard for automotive, Department of Transportation
Right.
and all that. So, and that specifies the 70% you get on your car when you buy it.
Yeah. Right.
So everything we added to that was technically illegal in this state because we didn't have an aftermarket tint law.
I see. Okay. So it wasn't banning it altogether. It was just banning anything that's
It was just, they
sort
were
of.
going to go enforce what was enforceable, which is the only law on the books is the federal law and not a
I
state
see.
law.
Okay. Okay. Which kind of is strange because it's a state that has an abundance of sun. Like to me, I
Yeah.
feel like, the southern states, Arizona, Texas,
Uh-huh.
hot states, Florida, these are the states that everyone can benefit from tint law within reason. I've read a lot about having too much window tint and how that
Hmm.
can affect law enforcement and being able to see who's behind it. There's a
Visibility.
yeah, there's a lot at play there. But to have a state that's automatically, it's in the sun, it's to ban something like window tint, especially when it's starting to kind of kick in, is to me, I feel like it is pretty crazy. And you took
It
the
was crazy.
reins, yeah, and you were one of the ones that took the reins to kind of
Well, I
fight.
felt, with my wife going, "What did you do? You put all our money in this. You didn't check this out." I'm like, I figured it was
Yeah, yeah,
okay. I mean,
yeah.
and I didn't even think about looking for our law. So I hired a lobbyist real quickly.
Hmm.
Joined this group called the Hawaii Business League, and it was very cheap. I mean, it was like $225 a year for the membership
Hmm.
to be a part of this um, Hawaii Business League, and they would help you with legislation if you needed it for
Sure.
your industry. So I called them, signed up, met a guy named Tim Lyons. He came over, went through all the details, did some research. I got in touch with Daryl Smith at
Hmm.
IWFA,
Yep.
and he helped me a lot, man. We became best
Yeah.
friends over that next year, man. So he sent me a bunch of tent laws for, like you mentioned, the Sun Belt states, Arizona, New
Right.
Mexico, Nevada, all the hot, sunny states. And, we took the best parts of their laws and created a bill. And Tim from Hawaii Business League said, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get this submitted into the Hawaii House and the Hawaii Senate. And we did that. And so I shut my shop down because it's going to take a year for
Oh,
to
wow.
get to get through the system.
So
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 luckily
you
my
were
land
down for a year, a whole year?
full year.
Wow. Okay, I
This
didn't
is
know that.
from this is from 82 to 83. So as soon
Okay.
as we opened, like 2 weeks later, this thing hit the newspaper, and we're like, "What?"
Wow.
And so I got
So
back in
you
touch with our landlord, and he nicely let us out of our lease without, because I had a 5-year lease. He could have
okay.
said, "No, you pay that 5 years off before I let you out of here, or you just keep paying it." But he let us out of the lease, which is great. Moved my company business phones to our 2-bedroom apartment
Okay.
and put the desk in there and put the phone in there so
Mhm.
we could still kind of run the business out of at least answer the phone.
So what were you doing for business if you couldn't tint cars?
We were removing a lot of film from a lot of
Okay.
panicked people.
Okay.
So as a public service, if we put it on, we took it off for free.
I see. Okay.
And if we didn't put it on, then we would charge them, to remove it.
Were you doing
So
any
we were
flat glass or any
not yet. No,
okay.
I didn't get into flat glass till about, she's probably 10 years after being in business.
Okay. It
It's all automotive in the
was
beginning.
all automatic. Okay.
Yeah.
O-
So we're removing film, answering phones, going to hearings, setting up hearings. Daryl helped me a lot at IWFA and offered to send us some expert witnesses to attend the hearings
Okay.
with us and, put some weight on what's happening and how we're just the only exception out of the whole nation that
Sure.
doesn't have a tin law. So we need to do this today. So they really came down and helped us about, facts and figures about how safe it was, and how
Yeah.
showed pieces of film, because
Hmm.
the legislators are looking at numbers on a piece of
Right.
paper like 35%. What does that mean? Is it
Right. Right.
black?
Right.
Is it nothing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we bring a piece of film, tint
Hmm.
a car window and bring a glass into so they can
Hmm.
move it and touch it and feel it and see it and know it wasn't dangerously dark. So we did that, a dog and pony show for 12 months, and
Wow.
I'm taking every last penny we had and buying campaign contribution tickets for all these senators and representatives that are saying, "Yeah, I like your bill," and they drop a stack of tickets on their desk. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you look at the tickets, it's $50 a ticket for their fundraiser.
Yeah.
So you grab the stack, and so I'm buying attending all these fundraisers, talking
Right.
to all these people, and getting our bill, through each session. And then again, long story short, I hate to keep everybody for 43 years trying to 47 years trying to squeeze it
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
into an hour or so. But the short story is it passed the House, passed the Senate after a lot of
Hmm.
hurdles, and then it was on the governor's desk to be signed.
Hmm.
That was then Governor George Ariyoshi.
Hmm.
He was getting pressure from HPD, Honolulu Police Department, and
Hmm.
the local Department of Transportation, that they were telling the governor to just allow that bill to sit and past the deadline of midnight the next couple nights, and just it would die.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, he was getting pressure to let it die because the police didn't want to enforce it. They
Sure.
said we're fine where we are, you know.
Hmm.
So so we ended up having to get in the governor's ear and explain to him why we couldn't do that because
Hmm.
we've spent everything we got on this past year getting all these people here, speaking all of these campaign contributions, all these things to get everybody to understand what we're trying to do. If he let it die, we'd have to do it all over again. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been here. I would have quit. I would have done
Right.
went
We
and
wouldn't
did
be
something
having this
else.
conversation right now.
No, no way.
Right.
So
So
Tim
you
Lyons
basically,
called. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, like, you basically, for you weren't really working for an entire year. Your job was basically
Legislation.
legislation.
Living off Terry's salary. We're really
Hmm.
skimping and not doing anything. I mean,
Okay.
pork and beans and gravy for dinner. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it was a rough year. You know, luckily we could pay our bills and our rent was cheap back
Yeah.
then. We were living in a 2 bedroom in McCully. It's a really small little apartment in a bad area that was like
Um,
$300 a month. I mean, it was,
so,
yeah.
so what did your dad say? See, I told you so. Did he tell you that? Did he say
He
you
was
should have
there.
never?
He did that exact finger that you just did. He was like, "You see,
Yep.
you got to get a real job."
Yep. Yep.
You know, so I was backed into a corner. I'm like, you know what? I'm already knowing what this can do. I mean, and we weren't even into, like you mentioned, flat glass yet, and it's
Yeah. Right.
the decorative side of our business. All
Decorative
these
and
things
yeah.
that blossomed after the decades. But I just felt it was like, no, it's wrong that we can't do this. How can they
Hmm.
do it in Minnesota and we can't do
Yeah.
it in Hawaii?
Right. Right.
It just didn't
So
make any sense.
how did you get this bill approved by Governor
So
Ariyoshi?
we were 3 days at that time to the deadline where the bill was gonna die.
Mhm. Yep.
So my lobbyist Tim calls me, said, "Okay, this is what's happening. He's getting pressure. He's gonna let it die." Is the word he heard, and we're screwed.
Yeah.
So he said, "Is there any way you can get a meeting with the governor?" And I said, "Actually, I do know a guy that golfs with Governor Ariyoshi.
Mm.
So let me see if I can get him to get in the governor's ear and just say, hey, give this guy from this tin shop 5 minutes."
Mm.
And it happened. He got me 10 minutes with the governor, and it was set up for me to take my tinted car down there. It was my at the time I had a 77 Mustang.
Okay.
I had a 1977 black Mustang. Took that down to the state capitol, picked him up at the tunnel where he said to meet. So I'm meeting him at the north tunnel on one side of the state capitol. So he's standing on the curb. I'm pulling up, and he's standing on the curb with like three bodyguards.
Mm.
So I pull up, and I, hey, Governor, shake his hand. He's like,
Were
so
you
that's
nervous?
the.
Were
I
you
was
nervous?
super nervous. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
22 years old, talking to
Right.
the governor of Hawaii. So I'm like, yeah, he shakes my hand, I shake his hand. I'm like, no, pleasure to meet you. Thank you for making time for me. I know you're a busy man, but I just want to put some context to what you're reading on that piece of paper that you may let
Right.
sit. And he said, so is this the 35%? I said, yeah, it's 35% all the way around. He walked around the car, and cars are flying by. We're on the side of the street. I'm not supposed to be parking, and
Yeah.
cars are flying by. And he goes, can I sit inside? I'm like, oh, sure. So I open the door. He sits inside, and he's looking from the inside out. And okay. And then he says, can you take me for a quick spin? I'm like, sure. So I'm
Mm.
22 years old. I jump back in the driver's seat, and we're driving around the state capitol. And he's telling me, yeah, I can see out. And he's waving at
Yeah.
people, and people are recognizing him. So he's waving at people, and they're pointing at him. So he's like,
Right. Right.
they can obviously see me. I'm like, yeah, so it's safe. We feel it's really safe. It's kind of the standard across the country, and we need it. It protects people from skin cancer, UV
Sure.
rays, fading, deterioration.
Yep.
Makes the glass safer, shatter resistant. It makes it cooler.
Hmm.
It make people more comfortable. We have summer season all year round. Took him back to the starting point where his guys were waiting, and he gets out of the car and he goes, "I like this." He said, "I'm going to sign your bill." Shook my hand and
Really?
went upstairs. Yeah, he signed the bill that night. Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah.
It's great. This is why I wanted to have this conversation because I had no idea that a lot of things. One, you, that you actually worked for a guy who was in the witness protection. program from Jersey. I'm from Jersey, so to me, I
It
feel like
seems
that's
like a movie to me now when I think about it and talk about it. It's like, it was my life back then and didn't
yeah.
think nothing of it. But now when I look back, I'm like, man, that was kind of freaky.
But also, you're actually, just from that story right there, I could tell that the recognition and respect that you get in this industry is warranted. I mean, you literally from that meeting with the governor seem to have changed the course of history for the tinting laws in the state of Hawaii. And I think
Yeah.
that anybody who came after you owes you a debt of gratitude for what you did and what you were able to accomplish, especially that day, getting that meeting with the governor and convincing him that this is something that this state needed. And I feel like that's 3 days before the bill is going to die, where you probably would have said, you know what, I have to go into something else.
I
I'm
would have
not
threw
going
the
to do
towel
this
in.
for another year. You were able with that meeting with the persistence for a whole year to convince the hierarchy that this is something
We have
that
to
we
have.
need, and you got it. So you get this bill approved. Were you like, "Oh, let's celebrate"? Did you have a big party? Were you like, okay,
We're so
let's
broke, there's no way we could have a party. We went back to our two-bedroom Fern Street apartment and started answering phones. And see, the hard part was there was a lot of bad press in the media
yeah,
about it being illegal. So
right,
now,
right,
when we got that bill passed, it was signed on July 1st, 1983.
okay,
So instead of being a headline on the front page, it was like on page 11 on a little article on the bottom that said, "Oh,
interesting.
window tinting bill passed." Da, da, da. So nobody
Yeah,
saw it. Nobody knew it. Wasn't on the
nobody knew it
news.
was legal now.
It was legal, but
Yeah,
nobody knew about it. So
nobody knew.
that's
Right.
that's when I started my commitment to advertising.
So it's more like you're okay.
We had to pay to educate
Yeah,
everybody that it was legal now. And it's still like for 5 years, people would say, "You tint windows on cars? Isn't that illegal?" I mean, they still remember back that it was going to be banned.
right, right.
So it was a battle. It was an uphill battle. So we spent 10% of our gross sales every month, every year for decades
On advertising.
on advertising. So now we're down,
Yeah.
I would say we're down to about 4 or 5% just to try to maintain. But we needed to educate, so we're at 10% of our gross sales. We're spending it in every
Okay.
phone book we had. We're spending it on TV. We're spending on radio. We were all over the place, whatever media was available back in the early 80s.
Now, regardless from you're now legal, forget about like okay, the education. People don't really know that tinting is legal now. Did you see business kick in quickly, or were you like, this is going to
There
take a
were
while?
there were the group of auto enthusiasts and stuff that were following it really closely and waited, and boom, we got busy with those people. That
Okay,
ran out pretty quick though. That was like maybe a month or two of
sure.
business, and then it you know, kind of trickled down because then we had to get into the constant education of
Yeah,
doing car shows and doing the first Hawaiian auto show and all these
yeah.
different things that would help us educate people on a day-to-day basis. It was really, I mean, there wasn't even a website available. We put our website up in 2000. So, I mean,
Oh wow. Okay. So
yeah,
when did business start to like really pick up to the point where you're like, hey, we need more locations? How long did it take?
about 1990s when we kind of had a
Okay.
real big spurt when we opened our third location. And we had the one in Sand Island, which is our small
Mhm.
first shop. Second shop was in Kaneohe, which is on the windward side, so it's a kind of far drive for being on an
Okay.
island. So it's two real different markets.
Right.
And then we opened one kind of close to our Sand Island store, but being it was being built right in the parking lot of the first Costco in Hawaii.
Hmm.
This is 1989, 1990. When
Okay.
Costco came here. When Costco came here in 1990, there were no Home Depots, no Best
Right.
Buys,
Right.
no
Right.
big boxes. They were the first big box to come here.
Huh.
So it was very popular. So a lot of people, everybody that lived on Oahu would come to Costco no matter where they lived.
Huh.
So
Okay.
we built a shop right there at the top of that parking lot, and it was amazing. I mean, I don't know how many 30, 40,000 cars a month would go through that parking lot, but they'd see our big sign,
Yeah.
and we really jumped right there in that store. We became really
Yeah.
really successful in that location.
So were you only doing automotive at this point? Had you picked up?
We just started doing residential when we got into
Okay.
that location. We had enough staff. We had about 25, 30 people when we got into that store.
Okay.
So we started doing, we get a lot of inquiries to do homes. So we started doing homes. And then the next big jump for our company was a few years after that when we started getting the big hotels.
Okay. So by 1990, you're starting to see business increase. You've got multiple
Mhm.
locations. Were you at this point, were you satisfied with where you were at, or were you like, let's continue to expand? Are you on multiple islands? Are you only on like
We did,
where? What was the roadmap for your business? How far did it extend?
well, I knew we were going to grow more into the flat glass because that's
Okay.
where the newer products are coming out more frequently, more of security films and the decorative films and all those things that we're getting to the point where you're like, wow, we can put this stuff on almost anything.
Yeah.
So, the graffiti protection films, all those
Mhm.
things, we started picking up everything. I know a lot of our counterparts all over the place here in Hawaii on the mainland, they just do auto or they just do decorative or they just do security
Mhm.
films or, so we were probably one of the few companies that did everything. So
Right.
we just kept adding on more more revenue streams. And
Okay.
and we figured, if our guys can tin a car, they can tin a building or a home. So, it gave everybody more work. And wherever we were busy, if we picked up a hotel, a big 40-story hotel, we'd grab a few guys from the shop to help the guys that were the flat glass crew.
Right.
So, it kept everybody really busy because we had so many um, jobs coming in at one point with house, because once they found out about the energy savings and the rebates and
Mhm.
how well it really worked, the engineers talked, and they just we just started snowballing. Yeah.
Awesome. So again, we're talking to Tommy Silva from T&T, the founder of T&T Tinting Specialists. Now, we actually do have a comment here from Michael. He says, "Aloha, Tommy." He's given the.
Aloha.
Do you know Michael?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I know you have a lot of fans. Now, I have to ask you this one question about when you first started. What was tint like? How different is was tinting back in the 70s and 80s compared to what it's like today? I know that there's a lot of tools and we've come a long way with education and the resources, but like what are the big differences that you see?
Well, the first films that I used, I mean, it didn't have a liner and it didn't have an
Mm,
adhesive system. It was
okay.
film. It was just film off the box, and it was just smoke, dyed
Hmm.
mylar and turned purple pretty damn quick. I mean, it
Mm,
was quality. The quality wasn't that great. You had to mix the glue. It was a powder. You mix it with water, and it becomes
right,
this
right.
white paste, and spray it on. It was a messy process. You had to
uh,
cover everything, get glue all over everything.
mm,
I didn't like that at all. Ended up finally having film that had adhesive on it, that had a liner. And believe it or not, one of our one of our first marketing ploys was Hawaii's original scratch-resistant tint specialist, because the films weren't scratch-resistant. So every time you blot or squeegee, you
mm.
did lines all over the film,
Oh, right.
scratches everywhere. And then when the advent of scratch-resistant films came out from Lumar that we first picked up, well, it was amazing. And you can take steel wool to it; it doesn't even scratch. Awesome. So that was our big jump from film that had
Right.
all scratches all over it and being acceptable because that's all there was, to having our first scratch resistant window film.
Huh.
And we ran with that for a while. And then as the technologies changed, we jumped. Um, Depositions Technologies Incorporated, DTI, back then came out with titanium, stainless steel, solar
Mm,
bronze, those films. Those we introduced those into the automotive world here and became super popular.
mm.
Everybody would come to us asking for titanium, and that's kind of like the ceramic of today.
Yeah.
Where everybody wants ceramic today or dual layer ceramic. So I mean, we just always was like the first one to bring in something that was new
Mm,
and try it and market it.
right.
And yeah, and then so it just looking for the next thing,
Right.
and for us, it went from automotive to residential and
Right.
commercial energy saving solar films, as well as the security films. We found a a huge niche in our flat glass side on the hotel industry,
Okay.
because all of the hotels in Waikiki that you go to now, they were built in the 60s and 70s.
Mm.
So they're old, they're pre-code. All their sliding glass doors, if they haven't changed them out yet, are still sliding plate glass windows, quarter-inch clear annealed glass
Huh.
on sliding doors,
Yeah.
which is illegal now.
Right.
So when we started getting these big hotels, it was to save them tens of millions of dollars for changing out every single window because they
Right.
didn't meet code.
Sure.
So if they renovated the hotel and they had to fix the handles or change the wheels on the track or whatever, they were required to bring the glass back to either laminated or tempered.
Wow. So
And
yeah.
what I did was go to our city and county building department with all kinds of test data from Lumar. Steve DeBusca especially helped me a lot, and Lisa
Hmm.
Winkler. They helped me a lot, giving me a bunch of information, all these tests. I submitted it to the city and county to get our films certified so that we can put a 4 mil film on a plate glass sliding door and meet the safety
Sure.
glazing code, so that they didn't have to throw away all that glass.
I see.
So
Okay.
got that done, got our film certified through the city, and then went back to these engineers from all these hotels and said, look, how much is your new glass going to cost? Oh, 9 million. Okay, if
Hmm.
we tint your whole building, it'll be $300,000. It's going to
Right.
save you $8.5 million.
It's a no-brainer.
And we're going to get you a rebate, and we're going to save you energy every year, and the glass is
Yeah.
going to be shatter resistant, and the fade resistance, and all these
Hmm.
benefits.
Yep.
So these engineers just started loving the results. They
Huh.
they look like superstars to their bean counters and their board of
Yeah.
directors, that they're saving so much money, not having to spend that money replacing glass that was
Sure.
still good. The glass is
Sure.
still good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that started snowballing. All the engineers from all the different brands and hotels started talking, and our phones started ringing, and I
Huh.
I went through at least 35 hotels just on Kalakaua Avenue in Waikiki.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it was
So I don't
like
know
a
if you saw
gold
some of that
mine. Yeah.
video. I just saw some of that video that
Yeah.
we presented at the conference.
Yep.
But yeah, so if you look at those videos, all those buildings you can see on Kalakaua, every single one
Hmm.
of them got solar control or safety
Yeah.
solar control.
So yeah, I mean that's why I brought it up earlier. It's like Hawaii is just, there's sun everywhere, there's hotels everywhere. Boom,
Hmm.
1 + 1 = 2. The opportunity is there. Now let me ask you this: being a pioneer in the industry, almost 50 years, do you have any, like they say, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. You've seen this industry in its infancy, where you're doing something that few people are doing, and you see the need for tools. And I've talked to a lot of installers, a lot of people in this industry who said, "Hey, you know what? I need something like this," and they invent it. Have you invented anything? Have you patented anything for this industry?
I wish I did. No, I've been borrowing a lot of tools and methods, and that's one of the good things about our conferences that we have all the time, is just sharing
Yeah,
ideas and best practices with so many great professionals out there. I mean, I
sure.
you know I'm blessed to know so many people that they care, and they're really passionate about what they do and how they did it and why. And I saved 15 minutes on each car by doing this, or I
Mhm.
protected the door panels like this because we do this. And so that sharing to me is the most beneficial thing of all the conferences and the SEMA
Yeah.
show, and our brand manufacturer conferences and all of that. That to me works the best. I can't take credit for anything. I mean, heat shrinking, we started, man, probably 35 years ago. I mean, we've been doing it a
Okay.
long time. So we kind of, it wasn't me, it was one of my guys that just started going with a heat gun. I actually was,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even a heat gun, it was a blow dryer back then, because we didn't even think
Yeah.
about heat guns. It was a
Right.
blow
Right.
dryer, and they made it easier. And it wasn't, it was dyed film, so it was easy to
Mhm.
shrink. with the blow dryer, and then as the films had metallized films or ceramic films, they're harder to shrink. But so the heat guns came into play. But yeah, our guy's been shrinking back windows for a long time. So I think
Mm,
some of our crew actually invented that process on trial and
yeah,
error, and trial and error, and kept trying, and finally got it down
sure.
in one piece on the back of a 82 Camaro or something with that big potato
Right.
chip back window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So other
So let
than
me,
that, no, I mean, just blessed to know.
oh, hopefully Tommy will come back. We'll just wait for Tommy to come back. Um, let's see. Just waiting for Tommy to come back. Oh, here he comes. There he is.
Oh,
See,
sorry about that. I don't know what
technology.
happened.
Sometimes technology will fail you, but the good thing is we just continue going forward. We don't have to worry about that. Now,
Yeah.
I know that we're coming up on the hour here. I wanted to ask you about um, you know being in business for almost 50 years. What's the toughest decision you've ever had to make as a business owner? Now, we talked about the challenges early, just a couple weeks after you got into business, started your own company, you faced a huge challenge. Obviously, put that aside. What are some other challenges or decisions that were difficult in your business career?
Well, there's been health challenges over the
Mhm.
years. I don't know. I think the most recent big thing was the whole pandemic shutdown.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we had 33 or 34 employees at the time, and two locations that had huge rent, huge overhead. That one was scary. I mean, we didn't want to lay anybody off.
sure.
And that was we were closed for close to 2 months through some of that, and
Okay,
even more. I think it was 2 months, and then another period of like 5 or 6 weeks. Second time when they shut us down, they considered window tinting to be non-essential, so they shut us
right,
down.
right.
And I had to scramble, and our guys, how I define success is when my staff and my crew and our family, our ohana at work can succeed and raise their
Mhm.
own families and have their own homes, rent a nice place they feel proud of, or
Sure.
the ice cream next to the apple pie to me is when they finally buy a home
I see.
here.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
When my staff, and they're in their late 20s, early 30s, when they buy a home here, that's a feather in my cap. That, like, okay, we got something real here, because nobody can afford to buy homes here. It's really
yep,
hard. But we
yep,
have probably 10 employees that bought homes here, and to me, that's saying something, when the median price of a home in Hawaii is $1.1 million.
yeah.
Um, it's hard to come by the down payment, which is required at 20% and all that. So for our people to do that, to me, that was the best. So when we're going through that pandemic shutdown, I'm like, man, these guys got mortgages, they got kids in
Mhm.
school, they got food, insurance, this, that. I mean, there's so many expenses to living, especially in Hawaii. So I just researched and did everything I could. I worked 24 hours a day, and I got the PPP loans, and I did everything
Mhm.
possible. I am proud to say that we did not miss one paycheck for our people. They
That's
were home
amazing.
for 2 months, and we paid everybody their standard pay all the way through all of that.
And how many employees did you have at the time?
About 33, I think,
Okay.
exactly during that period.
That's
Yeah.
very admirable. I know that the pandemic put every small business
A
owner
lot of
in.
businesses out. Yeah,
Yeah.
thousands of businesses went out of business here in Hawaii, man, just
Yeah.
overnight. And our people work so hard to get the company to where it is. I mean, it's me steering the ship, but I haven't tinted a window in 25 years, Vinny. I've
That's
been running the business side of the
yeah.
business for
Right, right,
forever.
right.
So, I mean, our guys really are the ones that should be standing on the
Mhm.
stages, getting all these awards that T&T's been earning. I mean, it's not me. I mean, I'm keeping the ship off the rocks,
Right.
but
Right.
they are doing the heavy pulling. They're the
Mhm.
ones doing the hard work. They're the ones that gotta climb up the scaffolding to the fourth floor
Mhm.
of a interior skylight and work upside down while water's dripping down their arms in the hot sun. you know they're the ones that deserve all the awards. They're the ones that, so I, at that point, I'm like, man, there's no way I can go lay these guys off and they're going to go get a
Sure.
minimum wage job somewhere or something. Like, yeah, so I worked real hard on getting those PPP loans, and we got two
Yeah.
of them. We got both PPP one and two, so we were able to survive, and not one person missed any paychecks.
That's awesome. So when did you decide that you wanted to have your business 100% employee owned? I know that it was in 2021. So
Correct.
were you thinking about that prior to the pandemic? Were you like, you know
Not
what?
not specifically the ESOP. That
Okay.
I didn't even really know what it was, an ESOP,
Mhm.
until we got to that branch of figuring out what we're going to do.
Mhm.
So again, I got a lot of long stories I got to make short for this, but this was a 10-year story I got to compress.
Okay.
So I am 65 years old now. And at 55, 10 years ago, I told my wife, I said, man, I've got a plan for my retirement. We don't have children. We don't have family in the business. We don't have
Mm,
anybody to pass it to. We got to look at how will I get out of here, step out of here without this thing falling apart? It's
right.
too successful to close. I mean, I got too many people depending on their paychecks to walk away from it. So I hired an exit strategist consultant. His name was Marco, super cool guy, nice guy. Wealth Strategy Partners is his company name. He worked with me. And I thought it was going to be an expensive process, but it was really reasonable. Paid him one time for a consulting fee, and he worked with me for years, putting this thing together. And as it changed, the whole plan of it changed several
Right.
times. So the first plan was to clean up the company and try to sell it to a third party.
Okay.
When I told him I want to get out, let's plan on selling the company. He said, okay, well, we'll put that in the back burner. We're going to sell your companies in case you live a long time and you want to retire. Let's do plan A first. Plan A is for you got to come up with a business continuation plan before you
Mm,
plan your retirement.
right.
And I'm like, what is a business continuation plan? He said, okay, we're having this meeting. You step out here, cross the street to your car, and you get hit by a bus. You're gone.
Mm,
You're dead. Right now, today, what does Terry do? What does your manager do at that shop?
mm.
What does your manager do at that? Who signs the paychecks? Who's going to order film? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that?
It's
Who's
like a will.
responsible for, right? Who's going to be responsible for the
Hmm.
leases? Who's going to be responsible for this, that, all these different things? And he asked me so many questions about that. I was like, oh, I don't know.
Right.
I'd be gone. I'll be gone. I won't be worrying about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But I looked at Terry's face. It's like, I don't want to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
What do we? Let's get
Right.
this
Right.
in
Right.
writing. So that was the first phase, was to get the business continuation
Hmm.
plan down. And I'm not gonna. It took a long time. It took about a year just to
Mm,
get that plan down. We had to
right.
go through everything and put all these contingencies in, and then I had to talk to each of my managers and my family and people that were going to take over different parts of my roles and make them understand what I was going to pass to them, and they had to
Sure.
sign it. So everybody
Yeah.
had to sign that they're going to receive these
Wow.
responsibilities and tasks and duties, and took a year.
Huh.
So we
So
did that.
so that was 10 years ago, right? You were planning on that when you're 55 years old, you're
55.
65. Um, the pandemic hits, so now you're just like, good Lord. Now, there's this grand plan I have in place. Now all of a
And it's
sudden
on hold. Everything's on
it's on
hold because
hold.
we're going through the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you emerge from the pandemic. I think, like you said, we went down twice. I remember it was in March of 2020.
Yeah.
We came out of that, but then we went back into it
September
because,
again or something went
yeah.
down. Yeah.
So we reemerged in 2021, and that's when you said, I'm getting this out there, correct?
Well, not as an ESOP yet. So we're still
Oh,
trying to
okay.
clean up the books and everything. So to sell it to a third party, you got to clean up your books, make sure your
Mm,
taxes are paid, you have no tax
sure.
liens, all these things. Organize your financials so it makes sense. You got to check your EBITDA and make sure that number
Hmm.
works well. Move things around so your EBITDA looks good, so you can get 2 or 3 or 4 times EBITDA to get your sale price.
Right.
So we're doing that. and we put it on the market on the mainland, not in Hawaii, because none of our competitors here would afford to buy us because we're bigger
Mhm.
than everybody else here. So we put it on the market on the mainland, but kind of in a vanilla envelope. We didn't put the company name, we didn't even put the industry name. It just was auto
Okay.
related business, doing 5 million a year, netting this
Mhm.
amount, all these different factors about the business, and put it out there. And we'd have to request that people sign NDAs when we give them the details if
Yeah.
they're kicking the tires
Okay.
and want more information. So we
Yep.
had 2 or 3 people sign NDAs. We sent out the full package with all the details in it. And one of them was like this venture capitalist guy out of California that
Mm.
wanted to buy it because he had family here. He lived here. He went to high school here, and then he's a venture capitalist in
Okay.
LA. But he wanted to buy a business so he can go back and forth, write everything off,
Sure.
and run the business from LA.
Yeah.
So I looked at that. I'm like, I have my guys,
Like a sellout. You'd be a sellout, kind of.
my senior guys that have to
Yeah.
answer to somebody that doesn't know anything
Yeah.
about our business. They're gonna have
Right.
to teach him and work for him. So
Right.
that was no good. And then another one was a larger company that was already involved in our industry. And after talking to them more, I realized I can't do that either. Even though they were coming in at asking
Mm.
price, and I would work with them for 1 month, and I'd be retired and out in 1 month instead of
Yeah.
4 years after ESOP. When I looked at that option, it was like they were going to bring in their management team, either demote or get rid of all my staff. My
Oh.
six division managers would be
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
gone. They were going to change our brand. We've been Lumar
Okay.
for 43 or 44
Yeah.
years, and we have a bunch of lifetime warranties, hundreds of thousands of lifetime warranties that are still
Okay.
intact. And I could, if I did your car, Vinny, in 1995 and it's peeling now, and you call, hey, I
Yeah.
got a lifetime warranty, can I get it? Oh, sorry, we don't use that brand anymore. Call the
Yeah.
800 number, click.
Tough.
All of my customers would have gotten that kind of service. So I looked at that. I'm like, well, that option, even though I'm out in a month, I get full price, asking
Yeah.
price of being out, it wouldn't work either. So I went back to Marco, my consultant, said, well, that's not going to work. What else is there out there? And he kind of ran through a quick inside sale with some of our managers that wasn't going to be feasible. And he said, have you heard of an ESOP? And I said, honestly, I've heard that the acronym
Yeah.
ESOP. I have no idea what it stands for, what it is, and how it works. So he explained it all to me, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that to me was the win-win. I mean,
Yeah.
even though I got to sacrifice 4 more years
Hmm.
as a consultant and train them, and I lowered the price too from what it was asking, just to make it
Okay.
easier for the company to pay me out for my stock. And I got less, had to work longer, but to me, it was the best way to try to make my company just be an ongoing entity now,
Sure.
because I promoted Kyle and Tracy, our two managers, up to CEO and president. They're running the company. I've been training them for the past 4 years. They're doing excellent. They've doubled the stock value in the past three
Huh.
years, and it's out right now for analysis again. So they're doing a really good job. So, to me, it was like a win-win. I mean, my management team that helped me build this company over the last 4 decades, almost 5 decades, they get to take it to the next level now.
Right.
They're in the driver's seat. They get all the wins.
Right.
They're going to be responsible for the losses too, but they're going to get the wins instead of working for me, and I get the wins.
Right.
So, and that kind of trickled through the whole company. Everybody's mentality changed. Like, okay, there's a piece of film on the ground that should be on a window, right?
Right. Right. Right.
That's a piece of
Right.
ceramic
It's
film. That's
theirs.
probably
It's
$20
yeah.
right here. So their mentality changed. Their mentality about, jumping in on our social media campaigns now changed. They're more all in about it. They're jumping into our videos and stuff. And before, when we were doing it and trying to ask them to participate, they'd be like, it was
Yeah.
Tommy's
I mean,
company.
yeah. It's fascinating because you spent most of your life building this company, and you've you've got the blood, sweat, and tears uh, to show for everything that you've done. Right. You could easily take the buyout. Right. Boom. You're in the sunset. You get paid, but it's what you leave behind, I think, is what's
Yeah,
important to you here. And by doing what you did, have your employees buy into the company. It's 100% employee owned. They're now invested just as much as you were. And like
yeah,
you said, now they don't have to answer to somebody who has no idea what's going on here.
yeah.
they feel part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Like you said, if there's a piece of film on the ground, maybe if a venture capitalist owned it, they wouldn't care. It's like
Yeah.
that's him. That's for something for him to worry about, right?
Right.
Now you have this this culture that you've kind of built over X amount of years, 45, 48 years, that is going to sustain.
Yeah.
You've got your employees who you've trusted, you've promoted. The company's in good hands. So
Yeah.
to me, I think that it says a lot about you. You know, we talked about earlier, you're humble, you're somebody who doesn't like to brag about the things that you've done. But I've talked to you for an hour now, and I'm like, you've done so much from, meeting the governor in 1982, or 1983 to kind of, having your employees own the company that you built. And I think that speaks volumes about the person you are and the respect that you have in this industry. And Tommy, I really appreciate your time today. This has been a great conversation. I know we're at the 1 hour mark. I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours. I know my wife is texting me. She's like, "It's 5 o'clock." I know it's early there, but it's 5 o'clock. She's like, getting my beer ready. She's like, we're gonna have a drink.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
perfect.
but I really appreciate your time today. This has been a
No
great
problem, Vinny.
conversation. Again, like I hope that you and I, will eventually see each other at something. I'm hoping, maybe you continue to come to the events, WFCT, SEMA. Hopefully
That's
I'll get
always
to see
fun.
you, and maybe I'll be out in Hawaii next year or the
That
year
too. That
after.
too. You gotta get back here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stop by and I'm gonna visit my buddy Tommy because I know that just within an hour you got a ton of stories. I'd love to hear more. But Tommy,
Yeah.
again,
More.
thank you for your time today. This has been a great conversation, and hopefully I'll be talking to you real soon.
All right. Aloha, everybody.
All right, take it easy, Tommy.
Thank you for everything. Aloha.
All right.